This episode of Archispeak is sponsored by Arcat, and you've heard us talk about Arcat in our podcast all year. Hopefully you've taken the time to visit their site. This is a great tool for you. For small architectural firms to government agencies, everyone can benefit from what they've created.
Arcat has huge libraries of free content, which includes CAD, BIM, specs, and a lot more. Why is this important to you? Because Arcat has done all of the work for you. You need a spec? It's in the CSI 3-part master format, available in multiple file formats. And this is just one example.
Arcat has tons of building product content ready for you to use. It's all free to use, and you don't have to register to download content. If you've already used sites before that you know that you've gone to and you've registered online, you don't have to do that at Arcat. At Arcat, you just go, you can find the information you need, and boom, it's there. Let me just tell you, if you listen to this episode, you're going to understand that these end-of-year deadlines can kill you, and Arcat was there to bail me out. I was looking for a spec that we didn't have, and it was there for me. So go to Arcat at arcat.com and tell them Archispeak sent you.
And we're also sponsored by the AIA. As the industry standard, AIA contract documents stay ahead of emerging design and construction trends with updates to its core set of documents every 10 years to ensure your projects are protected.
The AIA understands that many architecture firms go beyond the everyday practice of architecture to provide services like site evaluation, historic preservation, on-site project representation, facility support, and commissioning.
This year, the AIA has released updated versions of all of these documents to address the changes in the design and construction industry. Download samples of the newly revised 2017 AIA scope documents at aiacontracts.org/podcast.
Welcome to Archispeak, the podcast that talks about what it's like to work in the profession of architecture.
Welcome to episode 130 of the Archispeak podcast. I'm Neil Pan.
I'm Evan Troxel.
And I'm Cormac Phelan.
And hey guys, for this episode, as we approach the end of the year, one of the things I wanted to discuss with everyone is what sort of end of the year parties or events that your different companies have and
activities.
Activities, yes. Excuse me, yes, activities.
Maybe rituals.
Rituals, that's another one. Yeah. So what kind of things to your office, and hopefully our listeners will chime in and let us know what their offices do or what they might do as firm owners for their office or employees, regardless of the size of their offices. So please let us know. But for this episode, what does your offices do, guys?
I think it should be Office I.
I've heard lately a lot of people talking about this. What do you, especially like on the Entree Architect community on Facebook, people are talking about what they, not necessarily what they do just for their employees, but also for their consultants and their clients, and what do you send out? But yeah. I think this is more focused on what we do with our staff and internally rather than externally. Because there's a lot of interesting conversations going on there about what kind of gifts people send out and stuff like that. And it's not all good. I think we should also talk about like the end of the year craziness that is, finishing up the last minute details for the year.
We know how bad that's been. So before we get to that part, because we'll go off for a little while on that one.
Start with the good stuff.
Let's start with the good stuff.
Good news first, please.
Yes. Yeah. Well, our office, every studio kind of does its own thing, and then and by studio I mean like location, I guess. And then because we're in the biggest office in Southern California, there's a big firm-wide thing, but it actually doesn't happen until after the new year because there's schedules for everybody. So hard to get everybody in one place at one time at the end of the year just because of the holidays and all the projects and the deadlines and all that kind of stuff. So they kind of wait for the dust to settle, and they do a big gathering, like just what we call our holiday party at the end of the year. And I think it's kind of interesting to compare and contrast what different companies and firms do, especially for people who maybe aren't even working yet or maybe still in school, just to realize that this is part of the culture of a company is what kinds of things do they do to celebrate their staff at the end of the year.
How do you party?
Yeah, how do you party? So I don't know. What do you guys do?
When you guys have the big office-wide party, I mean, do you guys have it at the office? Do you guys get away from the office? What do you guys do?
Well, we have had it at the office a couple of years ago, and then, but it usually it seems funny, but the committee who's putting this thing together seems to feel like pressure to find a new location every time. So this year it's actually at Cal Poly Pomona, so it's going to be at the up on the top of the hill in the restaurant, and they're gonna, it's got a beautiful view up there. So, but previously it's been at all kinds of places. I mean, they did it in an airport hangar once, and they've done it down in downtown Disney. So it's kind of just moved all around. And in previous years, they've incorporated all of like the Southern California offices into one. And I'm not sure if that's the same this year or not. I don't think so. I think it's just our office this time. But it kind of changes location every year. And like I said, there's some kind of pressure to do that.
So is there like dinner and drinks with this, or?
Yep.
Okay.
This one is, and I think this year that the theme, well, what they're calling it is "Magic is in the Air." So I'm a sounds
But you're
intriguing.
having it at Pomona?
Yep, at Pomona. Where the magic happens.
Teeing it up for you, Neil.
No,
Teeing it up for you, man.
I'm not. I'm kind of beat up this week, so I'm not going to go there.
He's not
right
bringing
now.
the heat.
I'm not bringing the heat on this one.
So let me ask you this real quick before we get kind of like into the meat of this. I mean, have you ever like noticed that how the offices have performed financially throughout the year has a direct effect on what the end of year celebration is like?
Yeah, I think so.
We've had ones where we've like had like a dinner cruise out on the Potomac River, and then other ones is like, yep, we're gonna have a potluck at the office.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think that's part of how our profession works, right? I mean, there's definitely really good years, and then there's every 10 years or so there's some really bad years, and I think that it totally is a reflection of that. And I know that nobody wants to just pass out $5 gift cards to Target, but everybody wants to do the really cool thing. But at the same time, you got to do what's right, So
right.
I think that there's always a balance to be struck there. But yeah, I totally hear what you're saying, and that is definitely the case.
Because I'm thinking about ours. This year we're I don't know if we're trying to do our DC office and Baltimore office together. I probably should have read the flyer a little bit harder. Yeah. But
read harder.
Yeah, reading specs and drawings a lot harder this past few weeks.
We'll find out why he hasn't read it yet later.
Exactly, but we're going to a really nice new restaurant in downtown Baltimore on the Inner Harbor this year, and looks to be. I mean, and we've had it in the past.
That Under Armour cafe right there.
Actually, Under Armour usually does theirs there, and it usually closes down, so we can't have lunch at their cafe. But it's a nice space. Yeah, honestly,
I bet.
I'm sure they have some pretty bomb diggity old Christmas parties there. Usually it's celebrity laden too, with all these, sponsored sports stars and stuff. Yeah. Yep. But no, this year we're going to do a nice one. We've, we had actually this past week we had our December office, just our office meeting, which a lot of times, in past or in lean years, the office meeting kind of just trickles into an office party, and then that's it, and it's like, all right, thank you for coming. Bye. Enjoy your, enjoy whoever's taking time off. But this year we also have, this coming week, we've got a white elephant event within the office itself. So we'll do that in the office. And then usually people get together after that and just kind of hang out at the pods, and everybody brings part of the white elephant gift is, people have alcohol and all that other stuff, but kind of like the unspoken rule for the alcohol at the white elephant gift is if you get alcohol at the white elephant gift, it doesn't leave the office. It goes into the pods, into the studio, and we just sit down and everybody just sits around and drinks and indulges and smoking and joking and having fun. And then, they get to celebrate their white elephant earnings with everyone else.
And real quick, just speaking of gifts, everybody should check out our last episode if you're looking for gift ideas, including white elephant gift ideas. So
exactly. And also check the show notes, because we did add a lot more that are either like our standards that we've talked about in the past, or, just ones that are kind of those standard off the shelf, what to get your architect friend kind of gifts as well. So check out the show notes as well as listening to the show.
Yeah.
And give us a gift of a like on iTunes. Shameless plug.
Wow, that's good.
What about you guys, Neil? What do you do?
So the company I work for, I used to work for a number of years ago. And when I worked for them before, they used to do an office holiday party, basically. I mean, we would typically have it in a facility we probably were involved with in one way or another, either as the architect or, just had something to do with.
This year, it's going to be the retirement home.
No, not then, at least. I mean, we had it at a clubhouse that we did, or a sports clubhouse that workout place, and their lobby, and we've done other facilities where we've had these parties. So, and it was a dinner, drinks, and good times. I think the first and last time they probably ever did this, they had an open bar, and that was not a good idea.
Never wise to have an open bar with
never wise.
a bunch of architects.
First and last time that ever happened, and lots of interesting stories that came from that. But we won't talk about those.
That's a different show altogether.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. So what they started doing this maybe a decade or so ago, before I rejoined, but since I've been back, I've participated a couple of times. And they have a company meeting. They call it a company meeting, I should say. And it's pretty much an all-day affair. We go to another facility sometimes that we've had something to do with. Last year, it was at a community center that we had done. This year, I don't think we had anything architecturally to do with this facility that we were in this year.
Flyer.
But yeah, well, no, I don't. I don't. Anyway, yes. So, but the format is each of the studios or market sectors, as we call them. So we have our neighborhood residential, multifamily, affordable housing, and a couple others. And each market sector will get up, and a representative, or we go through a process of choosing a few projects, and then that we want to highlight what the studio's been doing for that year, and just what sort of interesting things about that project, what were the things that we maybe learned or something to that effect, or just highlighting that sometimes some of our planning projects go on for many years, and we may highlight that, hey, this year something finally actually got approved or something like that. So, but the whole idea is that somebody from that studio or those projects will get up and do a short few-minute presentation, and it kind of goes through that process like all day long. And then we break for lunch, and then we continue until later in the afternoon, and then right at the end, after kind of all these presentations, which are really cool because when you work in a larger firm, we have around 150 people with offices in Washington State and a couple here in California, and we have offices in China as well. But to kind of see the diversity of all of the different things that we do.
Yeah.
And so, because
gets everybody on the same page. It's
like a little
opportunity.
Because you don't always know that, oh, what are we doing up in our Washington office and the types of projects. So that's or just our commercial team and what their commercial studio and what they're doing. I say, oh, I didn't realize we were doing this and doing that. And I think the goal of part of this is not only that, I mean, you have your clients maybe doing affordable housing, but they may have somebody, or you might meet somebody, and they may mention something about, oh, this property I got to do this tenant improvement. It's like, oh, you know what? Let me, that's something we can do, right?
Hmm.
And if you are not aware of that within the firm, then you don't know that. You can't take that opportunity and bring in some more work.
Yeah.
So I think from that sense, it's really helpful. And then at the end of the day, the president and the chairman now, the guy whose name the firm is named after, he'll get up, and then our president, she gets up and gives a little recap of kind of the firm in general, how's it going, and just kind of the end of the year recap. And then we also do right at the end kind of acknowledgments. So anybody who's been promoted or has anniversaries, usually 5, 10, 15. We had a couple of 30-year anniversaries this year that were awarded.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, the firm is 41 years old now, and I mean, 2 people were given 30-year, work.
Like a service anniversary.
Service anniversary. Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
that's cool.
And then after that, there's a little party after that, right? So not a free bar, but some alcohol and some hors d'oeuvres and things, and everybody kind of hangs out for a couple hours, and then the party's over.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty involved. I mean, that's nice to dedicate a whole day to just what has everybody been doing this whole year, and it's just kind of a nice year to see the pulse of the firm and the projects and the highlights, and I mean, that's kind of cool that they take the time to do that.
Yeah, and the other really cool thing is our offices down in San Diego and up in Washington are smaller. There's probably about 12, 13 people in each office right now.
Do they come in?
They do, yeah. So
that's cool.
And we have several employees that have worked with us that have relocated for other reasons, but they still wanted to stay working with the firm. And so there's a person in Denver, and there's another one in Florida. They all come in.
We've got a couple of those too. That's very cool that you guys do that.
That's really great because it gives you an opportunity to meet the other people you may be communicating with. We work together on a lot of different projects, and within the office and other offices. So it gives you a chance to spend some FaceTime with some of these people that you may only deal with over the phone or through emails and so on and so forth. So
that's great. I mean, that FaceTime is got to be huge, especially for them, because I bet they feel pretty disconnected sometimes.
Sometimes. I think the firm's worked really hard over the years to kind of build up the firms so that they're not feeling like satellites.
Yeah.
I mean, they're involved. We have one person that moved to our San Diego office, but he's still involved in projects that we're doing on our studio, and another person's now in Denver. And when we do our weekly schedule meeting at the beginning of the week, they're Skyped in.
Yeah.
So
it's easier now than ever, for sure. But I think that face-to-face is got to be fantastic for them.
It is.
Especially when they're...
I think it's good for them. It's good for us.
Yeah.
I agree.
And for Apple, who is listening, FaceTime is a licensed property of Apple.
He said Skype.
Well,
that's Microsoft.
No, I did say FaceTime.
You guys said FaceTime quite a bit.
I didn't mean that. I didn't mean it that way. No,
the
definitely not.
FaceTime.
Yes, there you go.
God, I'm slow today.
It's been a long few weeks.
Yeah. I'm just regaining like my punchiness. So,
speaking of year-end rituals, I mean, there's always like the ritual of deadlines.
Oh my gosh,
we talk about this every year. I think, right? It's just crazy at the end of the year for a lot of people.
Yeah, and it's no different this year. I mean, we always know that there's always this weird push for some reason, to get our buildings out to permit in the month of December, usually around the 15th or something like that, so that they can be permitted within the year. And I know you guys have talked about how
so they can sit in the bin in the agency for another 6 weeks.
But at least they're submitted, so that you say, exactly.
Within this code cycle, usually, right?
Yeah, this one's a little bit different. We had a 50% set that was due yesterday, December 8th, for those who may be listening to this a little bit later or whatever else. And This one was a little bit different, a little bit more entailed 50% set. So, a normal 50% set, not a big deal. It's really a checked set for, progress review and things like that. And just to kind of have that, okay, here's everything that we plan on having in this building, and getting the, especially for, the academic clients and stuff, getting them a chance to get everything in front of all of the other departments and stuff to make sure that everything's been accounted for and that we have everything and that we're following all of their campus standards and so on and so forth. So, it's a pretty big deal when we're submitting it to the client, but this one's a pretty big deal because what we're also doing, because we need to stay on track for the pretty aggressive construction schedule, is that we need to do an early release package for all of our steel and at grade, below grade concrete. So it's, as you guys know, it's huge. That's a huge undertaking, because what we need to do is we've got precast concrete panels, we've got curtain wall, we have all of this other stuff we need. All of our below grade utilities have got to be coordinated with the footings and the foundations. All of the underground, especially on the first floor, everything above the first floor really doesn't need to be part of all of this, unless it's just something that's going to be cast within the floor, or at least, coordinate like floor boxes and, punch outs and things like that, anything larger than just a core drill. So, we've got to do all of that, but because this 50%, a portion of that 50% is also going out for bid, for, to the steel, the steel and concrete guys, as well as taking this 50%. And we now have, the CM, we're doing, design assist partnerships with, a couple of different, like the trade contractors that are going to be on the project for our precast, our curtain wall. They're coming on board now at 50% set, so, or at 50% CE level, so that we can go ahead and start coordinating all of this stuff with, the steel and everything else. They've somewhat been involved up, for the past couple of weeks, so that we've been asking and feeding questions to them, hey, are we detailing this right? Or, is this enough information for you to be able to bid off of, and those kind of things. So it's been enormous. I got a haircut about, I think, a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, and, had a beard trim. And then at that point I was like, you know what? I'm not going to get a haircut. I'm not going to get a beard. I'm not going to do anything with my beard until I'm done with this. So I had my own little playoff beard going on. And
project beard.
Yeah, my project beard, my deadline beard, we'll call it. And as of 9:17 last night, when I texted you guys, call it, project is out the door. I now am free to go and trim my beard and not look like the haggardy old guy that, like, hey,
caveman.
Look, exactly. It's, what is it? Who's the guy from Gentlemen? The guy who took care of the bear,
Grizzly Adams.
In the Grizzly Adams. Thank you. Yes, there's. See, I haven't slept enough that I couldn't even remember Grizzly Adams.
Brain cells not firing.
Yeah. So as a perspective for everybody, and we were talking about this before the show, and it is not by any means a badge of honor at all. But in the past 72 hours, I have slept 2. And then last night I came home.
You actually
crashed.
slept last night.
I actually slept last night. So some of my brain cells are slowly coming back. But yeah, end of year ritual is that rush to permit or submission, major milestone submission for us. And I mean, I remember when I was doing K through 12. I mean, that's when you submitted everything that was going to be coming out of the ground starting in May was submitted for permit in December. Yep. And so December usually sucked. Now, as I was doing my timesheet yesterday, I was looking at the all of my hours for vacation, and I haven't used any this year.
Do you need to?
I yeah, because only 80 carryover.
Oh man.
And so I've got like about 2
Well,
weeks.
you just submitted. Now you've got that.
Get rid of.
You can take some time off.
I know. I'm going to start looking for time to take off.
Nice.
There's a couple of movies coming out.
Yeah.
That I will take some time off, take a day and go in the middle of the week and just go and see a movie.
Awesome.
Star Wars.
Always a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully we get a bonus so that I can pay for going to see Star Wars 15 times.
Oh gosh.
Okay, maybe 5. I saw episode 7 5 times in the theater.
Jeez.
Wow.
Yeah.
You loved it.
I loved it. I'm a Star Wars kid.
And one of the things that we do in our office at the end of the year, at least some people have to deal with, is figuring out the budget for next year. And so,
there's a lot of those people scurrying around in our office right now, doing the business planning,
the scrambling of,
gosh, it's amazing.
And it's, crystal ball forecasting and trying to figure out what's going to happen and how many projects and what's our revenue going to be. And so we can base some, like I said, crystal ball numbers on all this kind of stuff. And
right.
It's pretty stressful for a lot of people, I think, to try to figure that out, and based on performance this year and what's going to happen next year and what projects are coming out. I mean, there's just so many things to think about that you don't have to think about this kind of stuff when you're in school. This is all kinds of crazy at the end of the year when it comes to planning for 2018.
Yeah, because, you do your assessment of like how, what was our revenue target at the beginning of the year prior? Did we meet that target? Did we exceed that target? Were we a little below? How does that have a direct influence on, our expenditures, what we paid out, all of our staffing? What projects do we have in the queue now? What projects do we know are going to be coming out? What targets do we need to meet for our income expectations, and all of these things that, have got to be thought of at the end of the year so that, basically you can work towards that goal throughout the coming year and stuff like that. I mean, that, especially with these larger firms, we're working for Neil and I, nearing the 200, people, 150, 200, staff firms, and then the mega firm that you're at, with 3 billion people.
Yeah, mega.
Yeah.
I think we're at about 350 right now, and it seems like there's more work than a lot of people can handle, but then there's other people who are being underutilized. So again, it's just kind of balancing all that stuff and figuring out where we're going.
I will definitely say that the one thing that I was glad that we did this year is the kind of like the elimination of the internal studios, even though it still sort of exists lingering a little bit, but getting rid of that and doing, a full integrated practice within the firm so that, we are able to, like formerly when you had student life and arts and science and everybody else, and like kind of how your firm is kind of subdivided with all of these different economic studios, that you have, that if like for yours, if K through 12 is like really busy, but higher ed isn't busy, and higher ed's letting people go when student life, with student life for hours, K-12 is really looking for people. You need to. The good thing now is that we're just, it's like, this person's going to go and work over there, and this person's going to work over there. And, so we're reappropriating, reutilizing all of the people in the office, because we've got a lot of really talented, really experienced people. And, it was the way that we were doing it was a little dumb. That, we weren't like utilizing the staffing that we had there, and, letting people go when other people were being hired, and you didn't really need to let that person go because, you just ship them off to the other studio kind of thing. So I'm so glad that we're doing that now. And the energy in the office has been, phenomenal this year. And had a lot of really good projects going on, and the, I guess, renewed effort to, bring design, to the top of the list.
It's huge.
It's excellent.
That is what is really helping win projects, right?
Yes.
Because that's what differentiates you maybe from anybody else who can put together a set of drawings is your ideas. So
yeah,
that's good to hear.
So 2017, even though, and Neil's going to go into his his list too, because, we've all been kind of texting back and forth about how like absolutely slammed we've been in these past, month, 2 months kind of thing. But, it's just, even though it's been a hard charge of the past few months, it's been a good year. I mean, it really has been. I mean, 2017, for all of the outside things that have seemed a little off in the world, I'll leave it at that.
What could you be talking about?
Yeah.
Leave it at that, please.
Inside the world, or inside my world, it's been good. It's 2017's been a good year. Looking forward to 18, because there's we're already staffing up for a monster project.
So Neil, how has December been treating you? Talking about end of the year here.
Wow. Well,
do you remember it?
Still in a daze.
Yeah. No, I don't remember much. It's been good. I mean, for us, it hasn't, in my team, it hasn't been deadline driven because of December 31st is arriving. It's more just, although that's sort of not true on one project, because working in affordable housing there's a lot of federal, state, and other public money that's tied to these types of projects, and pulling in a little bit of current events with the proposed tax changes that are coming forward. There's some of that money is going to change and maybe go away. Mm-hmm. And so it's threatening some of our projects, and those projects need to have permits in hand before the end of the year to secure certain funding. And so I think what the interesting takeaway about that is that the things that you hear in the news do have real effects on our business, not only from what our firms are going to, what we personally might be affected by tax-wise, but how our firms are affected and how our clients are affected. And so there's real consequences to when there's a potential change in tax law that affects, in our case, affordable housing funding, that projects may just disappear and people will lose their jobs because of it. And you don't think about that sometimes. So sorry to get so deep here. It has a serious effect on
it does.
what people, we do. So anyway, but besides that, I do have one project that is pushing for that, and but that's beside the point. But I mean, I've got I think my one of my team members counted, we had 14 active projects going, and I think I did the count in the past 9 working days. We had we had 5 projects either get building department approval or submittal in the previous 9 days. Wow. So it's been a fur flying 2 or 3 weeks, and all that made it a little more difficult was that one of my team members, I have three people plus myself, was on a pre-scheduled vacation. So I mean, it was scheduled for from earlier this year, sort of thing. So it was just kind of a confluence of events that it was like we were understaffed and had a number of things happen all at the same time. And while we're trying to meet all these deadlines, I've got 3-4 projects under construction, and people from the field calling almost every other day going, "Hey, what's this? There's an error. There's something's not coordinated in the drawings. What am I supposed to do? I've got my concrete guy here ready to pour. I need an answer right now." So this is something funny. I was actually on a pre-construction conference call for one of my affordable projects, and on one of my market rate projects, the contractor was calling, and I saw that I had a call on my phone. I'm on a conference call. I can't take it. Then I see the receptionist in our office paging me, And then I had our internal instant messaging system up, and I had a coworker who's my senior person, who was also kind of the senior person on that project. So his name's on the coverage. They're calling him, and he's sending me messages like, "Hey, so and so wants you to pick up the phone right now.
Will you do it now?" You're like, "I can't do it."
Can't.
Oh my God, I've had that happen.
It was
pain.
one of the first times that's happened, where it's multiple phone calls, instant messaging. It's like, pick up the phone. So yeah, it's been a little crazy and not being properly staffed. And then, oh, by the way, I ran a marathon last Sunday in between all of that. So
speaking of which, how did you do? What was your time?
Oh, do I really have to say that publicly?
Well,
I didn't do as well as I wanted to, because when you work 55 hours and up until Saturday night at 6:00 the night before, less than 12 hours from my race, I'm still at a coffee shop trying to do stuff. I kind of ran out of gas a little bit, but I still finished.
My friend ran that same race that you were doing that, and he was pretty disappointed in his time. And I was
but your friend runs like 5-minute miles, so
well, I'm thinking about this though, is that you say you're disappointed. You did it though. You ran it and finished it, and that's a lot more than I can say. So,
well, thank you.
You may be disappointed in yours, but we're actually kind of proud that you're
proud of you,
out
Neil.
there.
Thank you.
No, if
anybody's curious,
seriously.
I will tell them, but so we'll leave it as a mystery for now. It's respectable. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, he was very ticked off at his time too. But what was funny is that he's run all year are halves, competitively.
Uh-huh.
And this was his, and he came off of, and I don't know why we're doing this now, but he came off of a 2016 with a pretty major injury, and so 2017 was kind of like a get back into it. And so he hadn't run a marathon all year. He's run marathon length, but not an actual competitive marathon. And of course, he's waiting for the championships to do it. And so he ran, in the elite class, and he did better than, he did great, but he didn't do as good as he thought. And he was like venting about how, poorly he did. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Dude, you consciously got up and said, "Hey, I'm going to run 26.3 miles.
No,
2 miles.
2 miles.
2 miles, sorry.
Yeah,
26.2 miles.
Too.
And honestly,
that's
he said,
a good title for the episode.
And that's a great one. But it was funny
because that's where we are at the end of the year too.
He goes, I ran great for the first 21 miles.
Yeah,
and it was that last 5 that just, I got beat up. And he goes, I got to a point. He was like, I felt like quitting, but I didn't, and I pushed through. Which is kind of, apropos for what we're doing is, we're here at the end. We're like, sleepless nights, pushing through, feeling like quitting. But when you get to it, it feels very satisfying that you've actually done it. So I'm always amazed at how people who run marathons, specifically you, Neil, when you say, "Oh man, I did like really crappy." I'm like, you did it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I find most amazing about it.
Well, I think that kind of goes with everything that we're talking about. I mean, there's been every weekend I've been for the last 2 or 3 weeks. I've been at the office on either the day after Thanksgiving or Sunday morning from like 6 to 10 just to get some extra hours in. And I think it's really interesting to see how dedicated people are at the end of the year to actually making sure things happen. If you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it no matter what it takes. And that's really that's exactly what you're talking about here with the marathon and what we're talking about with these projects. And then just firm-wide, there's a lot of people who are really dedicated to make sure that the end of the year is buttoned up correctly. And it just doesn't, the crap doesn't roll over to the next year. So that's a really interesting thing that it happens on so many different levels with our firms. So what do your guys' office do at the end of the year? I mean, our office has a scheduled shutdown, and actually a lot of our consultants have followed suit because it's hard to get work done when a major part of the team is not around, and so what we do is between Christmas and New Year's, we completely close the office. Obviously, there's still going to be a few people going in and out and taking care of a few things here and there. But for the most part, it's a really quiet week, and it's kind of a nice way to reset before the beginning of the new year really takes off, because I think we all try to set it up so that we can hit the ground running when the first week of January rolls around. But it is really nice to kind of spend that time home with your family and not have to worry about things because the whole firm just values that time off and really looks forward to it. So, I mean, that's what we do. What do you guys do?
So at our firm, we don't have an official shutdown, but I will say for the most part, a lot of our clients, whether their offices shut down or not, nobody's doing anything. And so even if you're working, you can still work and the office is still open. And people will be there. They'll be working. But like you just said, Evan, there's other people that are just not. Your clients aren't there. And so to a certain extent, there's not a lot you can get done other than you can make progress on CDs or DD projects and things. So there's things you can do, and there will be people working. But for the most part, not a lot happens. And in fact, I was just on a bid walk for another affordable project this past week, and we were discussing the bid schedule and when we were going to respond to questions, and the dates were falling right in that week between Christmas and New Year's. And
when you're not going to get any answers,
when we're not going to get any answers. And actually the client came to me and she says, I don't want anything to happen this week, so we'll schedule it for the week after. So I think our clients don't want to be doing anything. And so, I will be off at least those 4 days or 5 days that week, Christmas falling on Monday this year. And then the Monday after that. So, but then, first of the week, January, we'll hit the ground running. So I don't know. What about your firm, Cormac?
Yeah, we're much like yours. I want to real quickly say, how many times I've been on a project where it's bidding throughout the holidays, whether it goes in around, Thanksgiving or just slightly after. And then, you have like all of the bid RFIs that are coming in and you're trying to do them. And I literally one time was in the middle of a snow-laden camping trip in northern Michigan during the winter time, during a Christmas holiday, on the phone answering bid RFI questions.
I remember you doing that.
Yeah. It's just like,
okay, so pro tip, everybody. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
You could go in and work and you can get stuff done, but if you're going to rely on anybody else, I mean, chances are very slim that you're going to actually get any answers.
Well, I'll tell you, one time when that happened, I'm, having somebody basically transcribe the responses, and they didn't word it the exact way that I said it. And it came back to literally bite us in the ass because for some reason, they deleted all of like this miscellaneous metals for like loose lintels and things like that. And they didn't have a single bit of steel for all of the lintels that were cutting into an existing historic building. And we left all of that crap off. Oops. And it came back with quite a big price tag for all of this steel for all of these lintels that when we responded the way that they had worded it, it wasn't the way that I said it. And it was left off the bid.
Yeah.
So yeah, that in that honestly is like that like little horror story that just typifies not doing this during the holiday breaks. Is you're not going to be working. Don't expect other people to do it either. Just relax, spend the time, enjoy your family and friends, and just get out of that. But so anyway, back to. We don't have like a scheduled shutdown, which is always just amazed me with like even the past firm is like, we know our clients, we know for a fact our clients are shutting down because our clients are the school board, and the school board is shutting down. You're not going to be there. So why we actually use this more more as like, if it's slow it down a little bit, kind of take a deeper breath. That you aren't going to have people calling you from the client or the contractor. So, it's time to kind of like play a little catch up. But it's going to be really quiet. There's going to be a lot of people on vacation. I think everyone on my team is taking a little bit of vacation one way or the other. I know for a fact I'm going to be taking a vacation. Don't know what we're going to do with it, but we're going to figure something out. Last year we kind of impromptu went to Niagara Falls. Happened to be sick as a dog when that happened. But, it was great to just like get out and go for a wintry drive in the middle of upstate New York. It was absolutely beautiful and needed. And so that's probably what we're going to do, is we're going to probably figure a place to go unplanned and load up the car and head to wherever it is that we're going to go.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah. So, and it's totally needed, totally relaxed. And that's what I suggest everybody who's listening do.
Yeah. We're going to head out to the desert, and my parents are going to be up north. So we're going to use their house as like our Airbnb and just do a bunch of cool day trips out of there. Go to Joshua Tree, and there's some slot canyons out there, and Anza Borrego. There's a bunch of really cool. So a couple of years ago, we went way north. We went all the way up to the Lost Coast of California and the Redwoods. And this year we're going south. So it's going to be pretty neat, because there's a lot of areas out there that we just haven't taken the time to explore. So it's going to be fun to do kind of these daily adventures. So I'm looking forward to getting away from the mass consumer holiday and getting out and seeing some cool stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's let our listeners get out there and do that.
Yeah.
Hey, and so before we go, we want to thank the people that help make this show possible. First, we have Arcat. Check out all the features they offer at arcat.com. And we're also sponsored by the AIA. Be sure to review their updated versions of their contract documents and download samples at aiacontracts.org/podcast. And do you want more Archispeak? Visit archispeakpodcast.com, where you'll find our catalog of episodes. And while there, make sure to sign up to receive our show announcements. And by doing so, you'll be notified when an episode goes live, and it will include links to everything we mention in that show's episode. To stay in contact between episodes, check out our Facebook page or use the hashtag AskArchispeak on Twitter. You can find links to everything at archispeakpodcast.com. And remember to tell a friend. Have a safe holiday, everyone, and stay subscribed. And thanks for listening.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
I joined the choir to sing. They're all competing for some other thing. I joined the choir to sing. I joined the choir to sing. They're all competing for some other thing. I joined the choir to sing. I serve my nation under God, service my